Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. It is, believe it or not, January 1, 2017, Sunday. So I thought I'd start off this new year with another video. A continuation of Series 105, the Encyclopaedia Judaica. And the topic is the Kabbalah. 105. 105 in my series. So I've been pretty diverse in my topics. The Freemasons, Illuminati, the New World Order, UFOs and aliens, psychic research, and so much more. In pursuit, trying to figure out what the heck is going on in the world. It's 2017. I started my investigation around 2005. When I had one of them big zero birthdays and decided to go down to Costa Rica just to get away, to do something crazy. And at the tiki bar on the Pacific Ocean, Jaco Beach, I was the only American there having a cold beer. I think they called it the Presidente beer. Yeah, so anyways, these other people from Argentina, many places over in Europe, Germany, Canada, they were talking amongst themselves, and they weren't overly concerned with the USA. They had their own issues and family and their countries and their jobs that they were talking about. So finally somebody asked me where I was from. I said I was living in Florida. I grew up in Maine. And I'm from the United States. And the consensus was they felt sorry for me and other people here in the United States. They told me things I didn't believe and I didn't want to believe. So anyways, a passerby just stopped here on the trail where I'm videoing today. So I paused my video. So anyways, back to my story. I got back to Florida after my trip to Costa Rica, Jaco Beach. And I got on my computer to look up the things they told me. 2 or 3 weeks. And the more I researched what they said, the more I found out that it seemed like they were telling me the truth. And that began my investigation of what the heck is going on planet Earth. What is real? How many of us know? So now we're in part 4 on the Kabbalah. And I believe, as some of this material may be a little slow, I think it's kind of exciting, but I think with my videos, and I did post a link to a list of them on my rickmiracle.com. Look over to the left side and you can see the page and print it out and use it as a guide to watch my videos. Select the ones you want. Series number 5, series number 25, series 32, UFOs, New World Order, these different topics. So you, anybody watching my videos, doesn't have to take 12 years to get where I got and to kind of form a consensus in your brain what you think. There's so much propaganda, deception out there. So with that said, let me get into this Kabbalah and read from this Encyclopaedia Judaica, published in 1971, I think, for the first time. Stuff in print that was always hidden. So where I left off, the earliest strata of the Sephar Bahar, which came from the east, proved the existence of definitely Gnostic views. Some kind of secret knowledge, Gnostic views in a circle of believing Jews, it says Jews here, in Babylonia and Syria. Lest we not forget, Syria is being destroyed relentlessly by the NATO powers, US powers, and apparently Russian powers, and prophecy-wise, biblically, when Damascus, the oldest city on the world, I guess, so they say, falls, will be the beginning of Armageddon. And apparently Armageddon is some destruction of the world as we know it, to destroy evil so that the good can prevail. Armageddon. Destruction of all that's evil. And we all know right now, coming out of the United Nations, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the gay agenda, the efforts to destroy Christianity, and all these things is being orchestrated to bring about a new age and a new world order. So apparently the Jews back then, years ago, hundreds of years ago, whatever years ago, pursued the Gnostic view, the study of secret knowledge, which, by the way, esoteric is secret knowledge, the word definition, secret knowledge only taught to selected individuals, esoteric. So back then, these people who got into the Kabbalah, many of the Jewish people back then were into Gnosticism, the study of secret ancient knowledge they did not want to put down in writing and share with the rest of us. So it might behoove the rest of us to try to find out what it is we're talking about. Alright, so Babylonian and Syrian Jews were into Gnosticism, and then out of that came the Kabbalah, the study of secret knowledge. I like to make it short. If it's used for evil purposes, I call it witchcraft. Secret societies, Freemasons, Scottish Rite, York Rite, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Zionism, the Zionists in Israel right now and all over the world who want to create this new world order, microchip in the population. Looks like they're trying to bring about World War III. The YouTube videos right now say that up until January 20th, when Trump will be installed as president, that the powers that be maybe will try to pull off another false flag like 9/11, or false flags that were used to start World War I, World War II, and many other wars, so that they can declare martial law and Obama will stay in office. As far-fetched as it is, we all need to be aware of this stuff, which pertains to the stuff I'm reading in this book today. So I think it's important, not only that, but the date, January 1, 2017. We can expect some interesting things to happen in 2017, and I think that goes without saying. If we compare it to 2016, which was a bit bizarre to say the least, according to many people I talk to, my friends and family, and other people I meet and talk about this stuff with. So, who connected the theory of the Merkabah with that of the aeons? Knowledge of the ages, the aeons, eon. The Gnostic idea of a divine spark that is in exile in the terrestrial world. The Gnostic idea, this secret knowledge of a divine spark, call it something like a spiritual God, that is in exile in the terrestrial world. So what is this divine spark in the Gnostic idea that is exiled from the terrestrial world? On page 507 here, under K, Kabbalah. And also with the mystic view of the Jewish concept of the Keset Yisrael, the community of Israel, as a heavenly entity that represents the historical community of Israel. So we do have this huge force out there. And when I talk about Jews, I'm going to say this in loud and clear. There are good Jews who still believe in God and all of humanity being treated equally. There are people called Reformed Jewry, Frankists, Sabbatans. And by the way, I want to make a correction on the last video. When I called the other Jews, not the Ashkenazi Jews, which were from Khazaria, the whole country adopted the religion. So when I call, and not all of them are, obviously are not all evil either, but they appear to be a barbaric people from the Mongolia area, Ashkenazi Jews. And they seem to be the powerful leaders, and lest we forget, in the Bible, in Revelation 9, it says, I know who you are, Jews who call yourselves Jews, but are not. Look up the last book in the Bible, Revelation 9. So the Ashkenazi Jews, and I made videos on this stuff, like the American Jew who went to Israel, Jack Bernstein, and Bloody Zion, and Rabbi Marvin Antelman, and so many more. You can go back during series number 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, and 71. We're all about those topics, and some before that, and some after that, like the Kabbalah. But anyways, in my last video, I kind of forgot the name, but I said the good Jews, and I thought I said Sabbatin, which was not the truth. It's called Shepherdetic, like shepherd. And those were apparently the original Hebrews that came out of Egypt with Moses guiding them. And they were the real DNA Hebrews, Shepherdetic. The Sabbatin and Frankists are part of the Zionism's Jews, who are the Reformed, which have turned away from the commandments given to them by God. They said, no, 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 we don't like these rules for living. And they turned from God, apparently, to Lucifer. And apparently, if you can't be good, you may as well be bad. And they actually believe that they can be saved by being real bad and joining up with the Luciferic satanic team. I know that's going to sound crazy, but when I read from this Judaica Encyclopedia, all of that will make sense, and if you watch my other videos. And the symbolism we all see on TV programming, movies, the dollar bill, the all-seeing eye, the pyramid. It's just endless. The people doing their eye like this, or the 3-6 sign like this, are politicians. And even the Pope right now, Francis, sending a video to all the other religious leaders in the world saying, there's no reason for us to be apart any longer. We need to unite. And he's even calling for a one world order, one world currency, one world religion. Again, all prophesized. So this new age and new world order is real. What does it have to do with mysticism, Kabbalah, Gnostic teaching? And I can sum all that up. If all those secret societies, under threat of having their throat cut and killed if they divulge the secrets, that they'll be put to death. If all those secret societies are in control of our world, and part of the pedophilia and child trafficking and other sexual rituals, along with, you're going to find out, quite a bit of abducting people and having human sacrifices, apparently torturing these people so they're totally in terror, which apparently releases a hormone in their blood. And when these people drink it, they get some kind of euphoric action, like when the shamans take drugs to go into a trance to communicate with beings on the other side, or to be able to see the other world, or go to the other world and come back with cures for people, or solve problems for the tribe. So this is all apparently real. Anybody can look into meditation and the chakra systems and the shamans and the peyote and videos I've made, like Carlos Castaneda, A Separate Reality. So all this stuff, after all these years I've been doing this, I'm starting to get a clearer picture and connecting the dots. And when I read from this book, the Encyclopaedia Judaica, huge book, and out of the 16 books that make up the encyclopedia set, I have 11, so I'm missing 5, and I'll continue to try to get those. And apparently on YouTube, or not YouTube, but used book sites, if you have the entire set, you can put them up for sale for $500 or $1,000. So I'm going to probably have all 16 of these for under $100. So a lot of the books that I've purchased over the years, FYI, are worth a lot more now than when I purchased them. And I think these old books are going to continue to go up. The ones on my video, if you go on abooks.com or cheapbooks.com and other used book sites, and you can pick up some of these books that I've done for $1, $2, $3, including sometimes free shipping, you might find yourself with a very interesting collection of books. And a lot of those books have some very interesting photography, like Erich von Danovich's book, The Gold of the Gods, with those color pictures of the gold 3-foot tall plates with apparently some kind of etchings of some kind of alien beings and all kinds of other historic information. For me, it's fascinating. Let me get back to this. So again, like I said before, the mystic view of the Jewish concept of the Kisnet Yisrael, the community of Israel. So why does this small community of Israel seem to have such a serious impact over the whole world? And why do they own a lot of things and control a lot of things? And it's almost like there's some kind of secret magician spies to our leaders, some kind of hidden hand controllers behind the scenes. And if they are in cahoots with some demonic beings and cast out angels, maybe it could explain a lot. And of course, not all Jews. The Shepherditic ones, the real Hebrews, are probably not the ones in charge of all this, but that adopted country, Khazaria, hundreds of years ago, adopted Judaism as their country religion, and the king mandated everybody be part of it. And apparently these people were very powerful and ruthless by their DNA, and would supply armies to other European countries who went to war. So these, and of course Genghis Khan came from the Mongolia area, and he ravaged half the world, slaughtering people, and made it really clear when he would go into a village or a territory that he would slaughter people relentlessly so they would get the message and not revolt. Think about that. He would be barbarous and treat the people horribly bad, slaughtering men, women, children like a barbarian, just so everybody would be stricken with fear. That's where these Khazarians come from. Interesting. And I'm sure not all the Mongolians are bad. I've seen pictures of that country, modern Mongolia, the different nations over there. Quite fascinating. But you wonder how much power behind the scenes these secret societies have, and who and what it includes. And angelic beings, demonic beings, gray aliens, reptilians. Just so many weird things to consider. But I'm reading here, so it represents the historic community of Israel, and lest we forget again, in the Bible, in Revelation 9, it says, Jews who call yourselves Jews but are not. So should we believe the Bible and our own minds and eyes and ears when we research and study stuff? And what's going on currently with bizarre elections like Trump versus Hillary. It's an insult to we the people, in my opinion. Everybody's hoping Trump will do the right thing. There is here an independent adaptation of the concept of the Manish, Bereshit, conceived in the spirit of Pythagoreans of the Talmudic period. So the period when they were creating the Talmud, and that to me is the book of the nasty Jewish people who are think that they're supposed to be the aristocrats of the world and rule over the rest of us. Not to be confused with the Shepherditic good Jews. If you go on Zionism and Images on the Yahoo image site, you'll see many Jewish people have been trying to warn the rest of us and stopped this Zionism ruling the world from Mount Zion, Israel program, New World Order, New Age, which is apparently an opposite position to God. It's anti the Ten Commandments. So anybody who tries to be decent and good and set an example would be the enemy of these people who are promoting the decadent, beastly, new age, transgenderism, pansexual, have sex with anything and everybody, and all this other nonsense that we're all being exposed to relentlessly in the news. If you watch the press releases, even when you check your emails and stuff like that, you can't escape. Let me get back to the book. On the one hand, the book is closely connected with Jewish speculation on divine wisdom, Hakma, and with the traditions concerning cosmology. And on the other hand, it introduces new concepts and an original plan on cosmology far removed, for example, from the Barita of the work of creation. So they got this other theory and thinking of creation other than what many of us think we know. The 32 secret paths of wisdom, by means of which God created the world, are nothing more than the 10 Sephirot added to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The Sephirot, a term which first appeared in this text, are merely the primordial numbers of the later Pythagoreans. So whether you have this magical power in these symbols and geometry symbols, triangles and pentagons, and as we all know, the witch's symbol, you can look it up on the computer. Just go to Yahoo image site and look up witches symbols, and you'll see the circle with the star in the middle. And I drive around this countryside from Maine to Florida. I just went on a trip down there for my vacation, and North Carolina and out west. And every dozen or so houses, 10 or 20 houses, you'll see a big barn star on the house. Go look that up. That's kind of interesting. So it's like the gay rainbow flag, some kind of message to people who drive by that these people are somehow connected with this barn star. And of course the witch's circle has the barn star in the circle, and we're talking about that here in the Kabbalah, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the primordial numbers of the later Pythagoreans. They are created powers, it says here in the book, page 507, and not emanations from within the divine. They also fulfill a decisive role in both the creation and the order of the world. You see what I'm saying? It might behoove us to know what's in this book. The first 4 Sephirot represents the 4 elements of the entire world. The Spirit of God, either the Spirit which are the world's atmosphere, water, and fire. The following 6 Sephirot represent the 6 dimensions of space. The Sephirot are described in the style full of mysterious solemnity, almost without parallel in Jewish traditions. So apparently, some of these secret magical witchcraft powers you can get, knowledge, divine wisdom, whatever, that you, remember these secret societies have oaths you swear on a Bible or whatever religion you are, under threat of death not to divulge the secrets. Only taught to esoteric selected people. That's what esoteric means. Secret knowledge taught to certain people selected. Not for the public consumption. Alright, moving on. There follows a description of the parts that the letters play in creation. So this combination of letters played some part in creation according to the Kabbalah, which was a Jewish creation extracted or derived from the Gnostic teachings, which were esoteric in nature. So like I said, I keep learning from this stuff as I read more and more. It becomes a little clearer. The whole work of creation was enacted through the combinations of the Hebrew letters. So the whole work of creation, think about this, through the combination of Hebrew letters that were inscribed on the sphere of heaven and ingrained into the Spirit of God. So, which God? I was watching another video, and the speaker was going over the word goy, G-O-Y, and then of course another variation is goyim, and these are words to describe non-Jews. And this speaker in the video I was watching this morning said that these goy and goyim, that would be all the rest of us that are not Jews, to these people, means cattle without souls and do not deserve to live on planet Earth with them. And again, not all Jews. I'm sure those Jews on the Yahoo image site, when you look up Zionism images and you see all those people protesting with big banners. So there's been a big divide in the Jewish world. You can't call them a religion or a race. The only thing I can think about these people, the bad ones, would call them a cult. And a satanic cult at that. And even in Tex Mars, when he was, after a speech he had in one of my videos I made recently, you can look up my Tex Mars videos, that some guy said he was insulted by Tex Mars' speech. And Tex Mars says, well, wait a minute. Aren't we all from Adam and Eve? Aren't we all of the same creation? And this man said, no, we're not. We Jews are from the serpent. And if that's true, and Tex Mars says that, that would be, biblically speaking, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, some other kind of DNA creature. So are these cast out angels in some kind of biological form serpents? Just me thinking aloud. But it's what it says here. The whole work of creation was enacted through the combination of the Hebrew letters that were inscribed on the sphere of heaven and engraved into the Spirit of God. Every process in the world as a linguistic one is a linguistic one. So everything is linguistic. Of course, words like that are coming out of my mouth right now are vibrations. So like when I make little jokes here, abracadabra, hocus pocus, you know, is it these vibrations that have magical powers? Why they have certain combinations of numbers that add up, Germanica and Pythagoras theorem, and also the vibrations from the different planets, Saturn and Mars and etc., Uranus and the moon, according to the astrologers. These different patterns of vibrations apparently have some kind of cause and effect concerning the day we were born and different things that happen in our life according to astrologers. Again, we're back at vibrations. So every process in the world is a linguistic one, and the existence of every single thing depends on the combination of letters that lie hidden within it. That's a pretty big statement there, coming out of this Kabbalah teaching. Letters through which heaven and earth were created. And the Bezalel built the tabernacle, which according to some was a microcosmic symbol of the whole work of creation. So a tabernacle, if you didn't know, is like a small little wooden platform with a curtain around it, a tabernacle. And apparently back in these biblical times, these other creatures that came from the sky had these tabernacles built when they would land their craft, if that's what happened, and go inside with the curtain around it because they didn't want to be seen in their true form. So it makes one wonder about these teachings. Through his knowledge and of the combination of these letters, perhaps this view can be seen as the accumulative... I can't believe I'm reading without my glasses. I guess my eyesight's not too bad. Sometimes my eyes seem to work better than... Must be something I ate. Perhaps this view can be seen as the ultimate conclusion of the theory that the world was created through the Torah, which is made up of letters and which contains these combinations in some mysterious ways. I gotta pick a bone with what's being taught here in this book. I don't think this small little group of people, I'm not trying to do a 6 on here, I'm just a small number here, these 1% or less of the world population seem to think that they're the people who are, their God or their ways, their alphabet, their numbers, have created the world and everything else. And of course they call us goy and goyim, which means cattle with no souls, who are only born to be their slaves, according to some Jewish people, or some so-called Jewish people. These Ashkenazis, which are basically non-Hebrews, shepherdetics, coming from the Khazaria area, which is up there, up by Russia and Mongolia, where these particular people have a propensity for being very barbaric and ruthless. I guess they don't have a lot of empathy and love and concern for the rest of us. But let me read on and you can decide. Ideas concerning the practice of magic through the power of letters and names and their permutations clearly emerges. Page 508. The author compares the division of the letters according to their phonemic origin within the division of creation into three areas: world, place, year, time, and soul, the structure of the human body. The whole of creation is sealed with combinations of the name Yohu, and the emphasis on the name of the Sefer Yadrich recalls Gnostic and magical speculation. You can't make this stuff up. On that same name in its Greek form, though contemplation of the mysterious, or I should say the mysteries, of the letters and the Sephirot, Abraham attained a revelation of all, of the Lord of all. So Abraham contemplated, meditated on the mysteries of the letters, the Hebrew alphabet, or certain combinations of letters, and he attained a revelation of the Lord of all. I wonder. Like Jesus said, you have to test the spirits. And a lot of people tell me they're in communication with some kind of other entity. And I've heard of some interesting experiences of people who have meditated and sat in the lotus position in front of a mirror. And the images that popped up scared the heck out of them. Just saying. Be careful what you get into. You might find out it's not where you want to be. Notwithstanding that, I think I mentioned this in previous videos, but at some college campuses, 2016, 2015, even over in China, a lot of people are into this New Age stuff and meditating and using the Ouija board and other kinds of stuff. And they became possessed by some demonic beings and even had to be taken away to the hospital in straitjackets. Apparently it was happening quite a bit. So I suspect the more the world gets programmed into this New Age and all this pansexualism and evil teachings and anti-God, anti-Christian and all that, I suspect the numbers of people becoming possessed will increase. Just thinking. The author compares the division of the letters according to their phonemic origin with the division of the creation into three areas: world, year, human body. The whole of creation is sealed with combinations of the name Yohu. I read all this. The Hasidim of Germany, Ashkenaz, read the book as a manual of magic. That's the word it says here. And they connected it with the traditions about the creation of the golem. And golem, remember, are these, I guess they would look like gray aliens. But they had some magical words that they could actually manifest a golem. And I've gone over this in another video where I looked into that word. But that would be G-O-L-E-M. So, and that came out of the book On the Kabbalah and Its Symbolism, 1965. So they have the references here on this Judaica Encyclopedia. As you can see here, but just about every paragraph I touch on in this book keeps talking about magic. Is magic witchcraft? Is that what the Kabbalah is? Should that concern us, that these are the people controlling the United Nations and our movies and all these other things, Hollywood, the media, the newspapers, magazines, school systems, economic system, and the people that want to bring about another false flag or some big event so they can seize control of the world, create a lot of chaos and anarchy, and kill off a huge portion of the population, as is described on the stones in Georgia. It says they want to have the world population at 500 million or less and maintain it at that level, and get rid of nuisance politicians and everybody living in harmony with the world. I like to translate these things. So when they talk about living in harmony with the world, would that mean that everybody lives more like an animal, like maybe half of South Africa, working as slaves to produce cocoa for the cocoa industries throughout the world, and those people live like animals in Central America, South America, all over the world? So is that what they talk about by going green and living in harmony with the planet, making us go back more to a primordial or animal-like living, while these people, of course, live in opulence, like the Hunger Games movies? So you have to translate, when they try to paint it as a nice thing, what it might really mean. Obviously, these people in charge of our world, a large portion of these elitists are Jewish people, like Woodrow Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson. You know, back when World War I, before it started, all his advisors were mostly Jewish people, and the president before him was asked to do some things for the elite Jewish people of the world, the Illuminati types, Zionist types, and he said no. So they said, okay, the next president will be our puppet and we'll do what we want. And they pre-planned and were already constructing the industrial complex for World War I, while Woodrow Wilson ran for president on the platform, "I will not take our young men to war in Europe." Just saying. And of course, a couple days before Christmas, at Senator Hyde on Jekyll Island, get it? Jekyll and Hyde? Conspiracy created the Federal Reserve, which is not the United States federal government. It's owned by the Rothschilds, Bank of England and Germany, etc. And he's even bragged in his life, "I don't care who's the president or elected official, as long as I control the money, I control them and their world. And if they don't do what I want, I can take the economy down," which from my research, they have done plus or minus 10 times here in America, and apparently did the same thing in Germany. So they know how to let people acquire a little bit of wealth, and then they know how to crash the system and take it all away, causing people to commit suicide, jump out of buildings, and everything else, after spending a lifetime trying to save up a small amount of money that would be better for their children. So apparently these evil forces, well, they're evil. So I'm continuing to read here. So the emphasis on the name of the Sefer Yetzirah recalls Gnostic and magical speculations on that same name in its Greek form. Through contemplation of the mysteries of the letters and the Sephirot, Abraham attained a revelation of the Lord of all. I said all that. Then I talked about the golem, that these beings they can create. Okay, I'm moving on to mysticism in the Genoic period. The Mishnah and the Talmudic periods were times of irrepressible creativity in the field of mysticism and esoteric inquiry. Let me read that again. Were times of irrepressible creativity. So is that supposed to be a good thing? Irrepressible creativity in the field of mysticism. Is that witchcraft? And esoteric inquiry. And esoteric means secret knowledge only taught to select individuals. Initiates. Like the Illuminati, people are illumined. Like initiates and Freemasons, people have to swear under threat of death not to tell what they learn. The center of mystical activity shifted to Babylonia. Wouldn't that be where the Iraq chaos and anarchy is going on now? Syria. Babylonia, although its continuing influence in Palestine is evident. So in this Judaica Encyclopedia, at least they acknowledge the country named Palestine, which they're trying to say was really never a country. I think Google recently was reported to have tried to take the word Palestine off the world map. is evident in several chapters of later Midrash literature, in particular this other document, Pikra Deira Elzari, and I can't say some of these words. The poet made no attempt to conceal ideas which had been transmitted through old mystical theories. Now, this is an interesting thought of mine, but you know, there used to be a lot of people who were into poetry, and a lot of these famous poets were writing these lengthy poems that some ways didn't make a lot of sense. But if you start to think about magic and combinations of letters and their magical potency and power, and then they find out that these people were all into these secret societies, these famous poets, one starts to put their brain together and say, oh my God, Rick, these people weren't really writing poems. They were using combinations of letters and vowels for some other nefarious reason or purpose. Just me thinking. I think I've got more evidence about that. I am aware in the 1800s and 1700s that a lot of these magicians, witchcraft, to the kings and queens and the courts in the Vatican, were in the process of doing something called beautifying the languages, beautifying the English language, beautifying the Spanish language, beautifying the German language, etc., Italian. So if these people were into this communication with these demonic, cast out angel beings from some other heavenly world, were they beautifying these languages, or were they making some of the words more potent, more powerful? That's what I think. And then later on came the poets and all that. So now we see all the symbolism on TV and the mind control, even the cartoons for kids and magazines and pictures. And a lot of times, you know, when you watch these shows, even cartoons, they say these things that are assumed to be assumptions, and then they continue on with the dialogue, the storyline. And if you don't catch yourself, you could find yourself believing what they said on the program was in fact the truth, when in fact it was not. It is not the truth. People will parrot right now and say, oh yeah, it's been already proven Jesus was never here, etc. There is no God, we don't have spirits. Of course, then I want to ask, so you're a goy, you're a goyim, you're a cattle without a soul, you don't deserve to be on this earth with these Zionist, secret society, Masonic, Gnostic, esoteric, witchcraft people? Is there really a heavenly battle going on? And I'm not trying to do this from a religious perspective. I'm reading from this book. The words are causing me to have the conversation. The poet made no attempt to conceal ideas which had been transmitted through the old mystical theories. Mystical theories. As mysticism, is mysticism witchcraft? Developed in this period in both Palestine and Babylonia, it followed the pattern of an earlier period. So if anybody doesn't think there's a purpose to depopulating all of the Middle East, and ancient history all goes back to there, and we're having a new age, and a new world order, and the Illuminati, and the Zionism, and all this other crazy stuff. If you don't think it's all connected, you need to rethink that, in my opinion. It is connected, and we as human beings can't walk around like zombies and say we don't want to think about this stuff, because there are people thinking about it and planning our destruction. Just like they crashed the economic system in the United States plus or minus 10 times, and took all the wealth and money away from so many people so many times, like the savings and loan scandal and all the other bubbles. They were intentionally created. In some of the books I read about Germany during the 1800s. 1800s, this was before World War I. They'd crashed that system when they controlled the money supply numerous times. And poor German people never saw it coming. Is that what we can say here in the United States? We never saw it coming? Canada, Mexico, Central America, South America? Can we all say we never saw it coming? Because I think that's only because we didn't want to see it coming. I get a little emotional on this January 1st, 2017. Apocalyptical writing continued with great momentum. So this writing about the end of the world and evil is all destroyed. So some people, I guess it's all how you describe evil. continued with great momentum. Examples are extent from the time of the Amorium almost to that of the Crusades. So the Crusades are another whole interesting story. You can go watch my video on John Robinson, Dungeon, Fire, and Sword. And they went over there from 1000 to 1300, 300 years. 8 times and completely slaughtered the men, women, and children from the north coast of Palestine, the land of Canaan, now called Israel. And all the castles, they overtook them, and nobody was allowed to live, and you were knee-deep in blood. From the kings and queens of England and out of the Vatican, which apparently were not normal human DNA people like you and I, unless some evil people are watching this video. But anyways, the citizens didn't have any idea. They were recruited as soldiers to go over there and slaughter these people. And then, of course, sometimes they were allowed to get some booty. In other words, after they killed everybody, they grabbed all the wealth and power and money and stuff they could get, artifacts. They were reward for murdering all those people. And the kings and queens and leaders at the Vatican and all these other secret societies, people from the esoteric Gnostic teachings, knowledge nobody else knows about, were in charge and orchestrating all of this death and mayhem. So I guess the big point to me is will we allow it to happen again? And if it does happen, say tomorrow, they have a nuclear explosion in some harbor, declare martial law, chaos and anarchy across the United States, will people be fooled and not know that it's planned? Or will they think it like Obama is saying and everybody else, that the Russians are evil and coming to destroy us? China will get involved. Is this all the elites planning this for we the people? And maybe they just think there's too many people on the planet right now. Actually, not too many, but so many people that they don't need, that they don't want to feed. Is that how they've been controlling the world for a couple thousand years? By having these wars and killing us all off. It seems likely. And the report from Iron Mountain tells that story. You can look up that book or watch my video. But it tells a story in 1969-68 where a bunch of elites got together in Iron Mountain, some base up in New York, and had to come up with a way of controlling the people other than the means traditionally used, war, patriotism, getting the people in your country to hate the people in that country by creating some kind of lie, deception, and getting those people to hate you, creating some kind of lie and deception. And the two neighboring countries would go to war and slaughter each other. These elites would come out on top every time. And these elites were into this Gnostic, esoteric knowledge and part of these secret societies. Go watch some of David Icke's newest videos in the last few days. And many others, and they sum this stuff up. The word is getting out. I don't want to be hating anybody or any group of people. But the people who are doing this evil thing have plans for a new age and a new world order. And it might behoove the rest of us to be aware of that. So they had the Crusades, 300 years, slaughtered everybody. 10 times, 8 times. They displayed a marked connection with the Merkaba tradition, and several have been preserved in manuscripts of works by mystics. So again, I keep saying, when I say mystic, should I be saying witches? Alright, moving on. About to finish the first page here, 507 on this video. At the other extreme, they grew and flourished in the circles of angelology. So we all know what angels are. It's apparently spiritual beings. We've seen movies. And a theurology which produced a very rich literature, much of it extant from this period, instead of or in addition to the contemplation of the chariot. So the contemplation of the chariot, I'm learning as I go here. Apparently these Kabbalah people into this Yesar Seraphat, the thing you meditate on with the circles like a tree of life. The first four are the earthly world and the higher levels, dimensions, whatever they are. We'll get into this again and again and again. But angelology and theurology, which produced a very rich literature. So they call it a rich literature. Witchcraft, is that a rich literature? Much of it extant from that period instead of, or in addition to, the contemplation of the chariot. So apparently they have this vision, and then you can look this up, the chariot in the Kabbalah. And apparently they think of this gigantic mothership in space, and in the center of the ship is a gigantic throne, and that would be the contemplation of the chariot, this mothership with the throne, and then there's a veil that conceals who sits on the throne, and there's a bunch of lesser gods on the other side of the veil, according to what I have been trying to read and understand. So this is some kind of religion of the Kabbalah, FYI. This presents a many-sided practical magic associated with the prince and princesses of the Torah, that would be the Jewish Bible, whose names vary. Many incantations, we all know what incantations are, abracadabra, hocus pocus, for simplistic explanation purposes, witchcraft. Many incantations addressed to the angel Yophiel and his companions, so the angel had companions, as princes of wisdom and of the Torah are found in large numbers of manuscripts of magical manuals, which continue a tradition of the earlier magical papyri. So on this papyrus where they wrote these books, magical papyri. There was also the custom of conjuring up these princes, particularly on the day before the Day of Atonement, or even on the night of the Day of Atonement itself. So you were conjuring up these beings that they called princes. So I'm wondering, is that why they have to sacrifice a human being? As, if you watched my Rabbi Marvin Antelman videos, to eliminate the opate, your belief in God, opate. In Hitler's diary, they sacrificed this young gypsy Munich, Germany man that they abducted to bring forth some kind of being to impregnate the girl lying on an adjoining altar of that cult. So you start reading what's in the Judaica Encyclopedia, and you remember Rabbi Marvin Antelman's teaching about that, and so much more mysterious, unexplained things in our reality that they don't want us to know. You know, if you start thinking about all this stuff, you get to paint a picture in your mind of what reality really is. Then you want to say, wait a minute, didn't I read in the UFO books that people who were abducted by these gray aliens called out to Jesus, and the gray aliens dropped that person like a hot potato? So scratching my head going, wow, man, if you ought to think about what team you want to be on. Formula for more mundane purposes have also been preserved in many incantations. So they're saying incantations and formulations here, written in Babylonian and Aramaic by Jewish masters of the name, and not always on behalf of Jewish customers. So apparently these magicians, these witchcraft people, charged money for their services to perform a magic, and it wasn't just for Jewish customers, page 510. Ah, that's interesting. A demonology, we're talking about demons now, extremely rich in detail. So I'm reading the word here, a demonology, extremely rich in detail. So are we saying, you know, a witchcraft book is extremely rich in detail? What kind of person would think that's good? Well, unless you wanted to have these powers. Also grew up side by side with the angelology. So they had these documents with demonology, extremely rich in detail, which grew up side by side in their traditions with angelology, communicating with demons or angels. I'm reading the book. Others were found on clay bowls, so even on clay bowls they wrote these incantations, which were buried, according to custom, beneath the threshold of houses. So they got these bowls, ceramic bowls, with the incantations on them, and they buried them under their house. So that was probably some kind of magical protection, maybe from demons. They have important parallels among the incantations transmitted through the literary tradition in the fragments of the Genazal. Okay. Well, I was interrupted again. Located on this little path right here, and people are coming and going by the brewery in downtown Asheville in the River District. Back to the book before the next interruption. All right, the theology and angelology of the incantations were not always explained correctly by their editors, who saw them in a heterodox theology. So, if you've been watching my videos, I've pretty much been all over the board here, even with the Theophist Society, Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Annie Besant, and then of course Aleister Crowley, the evilest man alive, doing these magical rituals with children, sexual and probably death. And all this stuff just makes you wonder, what the heck is with our reality? And I do not believe it will behoove us to be ignorant and apathetic about people being killed over there in Syria. I think we all need to wake up, because if we allow that, which so far we have allowed it, we can probably be rest assured it'll happen to us. Just saying. Some more people walked by with their dog. Very nice. So, it was in Babylonia, the Iraq area, Syria. Also, apparently, that the book of Razaruba, the Great Mystery, was composed, attacked by the Karaites as a work of sorcery. So, this isn't my imagination. It says sorcery right here on page 510. The book does indeed contain magical material. So when I say mysticism, Kabbalah, and all this other stuff, secret societies, involves seemingly evil goings-on, witchcraft, and includes abduction, sacrificing, and sexual rituals with children. It does not appear to be my imagination. It says here in the Judaica Encyclopedia, work of sorcery. So what do you think sorcery means? And it is the Judaica Encyclopedia. It is the documented material about what they extremely rich in detail they call this stuff. The utterances, that's the words coming out of the mouth, the utterances employed in the creation of the world were conceived either as forces within the chariot, so that big mothership in the sky with a big throne on it, with some kind of being called their God, within the chariot, or as eons, meddot, and hypostasis. Hypostasis. Starting to drizzle a little bit out here, so I may have to stop this video rather soon. In the early sources, Shekinah is an expression used to denote the presence of God himself in the world, and is no more than the name of that presence. It later becomes a hypostasis distinguished from God. So whatever this entity is that they're talking about, it's as a separate distinction other than God. The Shekinah stood before the Holy One. Blessed be he, and said to him. Moving on. In this obviously Gnostic typology, the allegories which the Midrash uses in order to describe the relationship of the Holy One, blessed be He, to the community of Israel, are transmuted in their Gnostic concept of the Shekinah and or the daughter in the Eastern sources. So one more short paragraph and I'm done. It's starting to drizzle here. The ascent of repentance to reach the throne of glory, so to be repentant to reach the throne of glory, is interpreted in the late Midrash, PR 185a, as an actual ascent of the repentant sinner through all of the firmaments, that would be the other dimensions. And so the process of repentance is closely connected here with the process of ascent to the chariot. In this period, the idea of transmigration of souls also became established in various Eastern circles. So yet again, I hope I've made a point or proved the point here. You know, and I've got a long ways to go. I'm going to do the Kabbalah on these books thoroughly, so we can get like an idea in our mind what they're talking, what they're into. Why would they want to destroy Christianity and defame Jesus, a good guy who said treat others how you want to be treated, and bring us this other thing of this entity on some throne in some chariot? And they're into sorcery, angelology, demonology, Gnostic teaching, esoteric teachings. Esoteric means teaching secret knowledge only to selected people. So they're all into witchcraft, if you want to sum it up. And they're deceiving us. They're creating these false flags like 911. All these fake shootings and bombings so they can make more legislation. Trying to blame we the people as the culprits in this sustainability question, resources. Well, these people, these Zionists, not all Jewish people, are in control of resources, gold mines, coal mines, the cocoa plantations, South Africa, everything all over the world, and they're treating we the people like we're slaves. As far as I'm concerned, I was born on planet Earth as a free man. I'm not a slave to these people that are into sorcery. And I don't think anybody else should be either. Anyways, thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting on the first day of 2017. God help us all, I pray. And we need to wake up and think about things, talk about things.